lesson today reiterates that love is sweet, love is kind, love is understanding, and love conquers all. God's love for us is so great that he gave his only begotten Son, Jesus, to die for our sins. There is no greater love. In today's passage, Moses detailed a fitting response to God's deliverance of the Israelites from slavery in Egypt and provision for them in the Sinai wilderness. And that brings us to our key verse for today, which reads, "And now, Israel, what does the Lord your God require of you? He requires you to fear him, to live according to his will, to love and worship him with all your heart and soul, and to obey the Lord's commands and laws that I am giving you today for your own good." Deuteronomy chapter 10, verses 12 through 13. Moses' question was, if you were going to be one of God's people, what does that involve? What does God expect of you? Then in verses 12 and 13, he listed 5 responses that honored God's request to them. The first is to fear God because of God's size and strength, which is also the basis for confidence when we face problems or danger. Second, Moses said God asked his people to walk in all his ways. The third instruction for the Israelites was to love the Lord thy God by trusting him, being thankful for their deliverance from slavery and his forgiveness of their stubborn rebellion. Moses' fourth instruction is to serve the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul. Moses saved the most important truth for last. God said the intent behind all his instruction was for thy good. 3,000 years ago, God inspired Moses to imagine a reality beyond what anyone could see or imagine, a heaven beyond the heavens. From all God created, God was especially tied to the Israelites, not just to one generation of ex-slaves wandering in the wilderness. God wanted the Israelites to understand that he chose them from everything he made as his chosen people. To circumcise the heart symbolized a covenantal agreement and was intended to be a permanent life-altering change, a spiritual transformation in how an Israelite, especially a man, thought of a relationship with this God. As the Israelites plodded through the Sinai desert, they encountered many nations. Each group worshipped a different god, some Molech, others Ashtoreth, and more still Chemosh. Moses emphasized that whatever other gods there were, their God, the Lord, was the one true God. To share in God's holiness required sharing in his merciful attitude towards other people. Jesus made this the heart of the gospel. By this shall all men know that you are my disciples if you have love to one another. Again, using the same word that referred to his love for them, he instructs them to have love for the outsider. He reminds them that for hundreds of years they had been homeless, penniless outsiders in Egypt. They knew the injustice and abuse such people went through. It was undeniable that God miraculously engineered their exodus from Egypt and provided for them during their sojourn in the Sinai desert. Moses reminded them that God had sustained them through years of abusive treatment and multiplied their number and strength for a new future. God had braced the Israelites through centuries of slavery and mistreatment for a greater future. By doing so, he demonstrated his great love and power. Moses inserted a reminder that their land was a gift from God. By their covenant with God, they obligated themselves to abide by its laws and apply them to all persons and circumstances. Only justice that is a joy to the godly could ensure the stability of the community God wanted his chosen people to show the rest of the world. Only certainty of fairness for all could ensure life at its fullest, not for one generation, but for those who inherit what the Israelites left behind. So here's our lesson. We must not mistreat others just because they are foreign to this land. It is our duty to treat everyone with love and kindness, as God has treated us. If we love God, we will follow his command and serve him with our hearts and souls. God commands that we love one another, including all those who have come to live in our community as well.